America rules, and so does real American beer. Get some, brother.
Yo, what's going on? How's everyone feeling tonight? This is Denzel Snipes with Sideline Sports Network. This is the Sideline Sports Show. Where's JB? He's usually sitting in this seat, right? That's because JB's here. He decided to ditch us and go all the way across the world, currently in the land of the Orient. He's in Tokyo, Japan for the MLB World Tour Tokyo Series. We'll be getting to that in just a moment. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Check us out on all of our good shows and all of our platforms, Alumni Media. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Sideline Sports 1, YouTube and Facebook at Sideline Sports, DBTV, Believe Network, our website, sidelinesportsnet.com, where we have all of our shows. Also, it's another platform for our shows. And also, we have our staff that write articles and everything. Very good reading, so definitely check it out. We're also on KRSN Internet Radio and WDJY in the ATL, shouted. Let's get it started. Let's bring in somebody right now. He's like the Rey Mysterio of our network, Mr. John Shear.
Oh, man, that was better than any introduction JB has ever presented on this show. You had energy, and JB never has energy. He's always kind of like as happy as he is whenever he watches his teams, just, very lifeless. So that was wonderful. Job well done.
I appreciate it, man. JB, I'm certain, has the same reaction if the Yankees win the World Series versus if they lost the World Series. It's just that's just how it is. But no, big things going around in sports, man, and I know we're about to get right to it. Let's bring in our special guest live from the Gauntlet Show. Alongside me, we got JT, James Tatum himself. What's going on, fella?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on your show tonight. I'm glad to fill in for JB, who's apparently too good to do a show just because he's on vacation. So
Tokyo.
Apparently somebody has to pick up the work, so it might as well be me.
Bro, you got the clean look, the clean beard, the clean haircut. Your face is shiny right now. You got the look going on, man.
He actually turned back the clock. When I met him, he looked like that. That was his goatee. He had like longer hair though, but he had that exact goatee right there. So yeah, I see Silver Barber chopped you up, man.
Yes, sir, he did.
All right. Well, without further ado, hold on. Let me go back to my format here. Here we go. All right. So without further ado, let's get to our Sideline Sports quick hits. And so the first one. Can the Oklahoma City Thunder at 56-12 make the NBA Finals? James, start it off.
I think they can. They're the best team. They've won the most games. SGA is playing at a high level. And, I'm not really going crazy over anybody in the West. I know Luka and LeBron, everyone wants to hype the Lakers, but, what have the Lakers really done? They haven't done anything in a long time. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, they're going to the finals. I think the Thunder are the team to beat.
All right. And John, what about you?
I don't think they're going to the finals. We kind of saw what they looked like last year in the playoffs. It was good, not great. And, I mean, you didn't mention, James, you didn't mention anything about the Joker. And as far as I'm concerned, he's still the best player in the NBA. Way better than SGA, in my opinion, because the guy's averaging a triple-double. I mean, go look at his numbers. He's literally averaging a triple-double. He, as far as I'm concerned, he's the best player on the best team. So I don't even understand how this comparison. You got to knock them out. To me, they're the best team in the West. Doesn't matter by record. When you play him in the playoffs and his Nuggets, that's the team you have to beat. That's the gold standard, not anybody else. So until somebody beats the Nuggets, it just I don't buy SGA and the Thunder. Like, they were great last year in the regular season, then they flopped in the playoffs. So I'm not buying them, and I'm going Nuggets again.
Yeah, they were taken out by fifth-seeded Dallas, who did go on to the NBA Finals. I mean, they can make the finals, but honestly, I think a more experienced team like the Nuggets are going to catch them. Looking at the West, it's actually very tight right now. The Warriors don't quite look like the Warriors, but Steph, not the ones of years past, they're currently 39, 29, 29, excuse me. But Steph Curry in the playoffs is still Steph Curry in the playoffs, and until he, chokes on a chicken bone, I would say that's another guy to beat as well. Now, do I trust the Nuggets more than the Warriors? Yes. The Warriors have gotten old. I get it, but also at the same time, Steph Curry is it. And in my honest opinion, and he's still playing at a high level at 35, 36 years old. If they are in the postseason, they've got a shot. They've got an honest chance. Maybe not as big a chance as, say, 2015, 16, 17, those years. But again, he's still Steph Curry, so it is what it is. But can Oklahoma City get there? Yes, it's going to take a lot. Despite their record, it's going to take a lot of grinding to get there. It's probably going to be some 6 and 7 game series along the way. Not the run through like Boston did last year when they were just kind of crushing teams 4-0, 4-1. I don't see that out of Oklahoma City. If they make the finals, it's going to be a dogfight. But number 2. How far do you have the Cavaliers at 56-11 going into postseason? John, we'll start off with you.
As another team, same thing. There's a lot of great players, but same core the last couple of years. When they get to the playoffs, they're good, but they're not great. They can't beat the better teams, and so I don't buy them. Like, when they get to the playoffs, I expect the same thing. Second round, a 6-game series. They contest. They make it tough on the other team, but ultimately they get knocked down the second round. It's not an Eastern Conference Finals team. It's not an NBA Finals team. I just don't buy them. Like, to me, what scares you about this team? I know they're playing well in the regular season, but we all know the postseason is a completely different animal. And the last couple of years they've choked, so I just don't buy them. I don't think they go past the second round. They're this year's Sixers.
Okay. And James, what about you?
I think they can make it to the East Finals. I think they're a little better than what John is saying. And who's going to beat them? The Knicks? The Bucks? These teams are not that good. The East in general is just not particularly great. They will probably get through to the East Finals, and then they will lose against Boston, as expected.
Yeah. I think their ceiling this year would be the East Finals, and they would incidentally lose to the Celtics. Now, if it is Milwaukee, if they somehow make the East Finals against Cleveland, I'll probably give Cleveland a better chance, even though that is still Giannis waiting on the other side.
And Dame.
And Dame time as well. Dame definitely would be, because I think he's only made one conference finals in his career. Yeah. So he'll be doubly motivated to get there. Spider's playing out of his mind. Then you figure, with the Oklahoma City SGA over there on the other side, who's probably going to win most valuable player.
You should have.
Probably not. You could argue Jokic, of course, but also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
How can you argue if Joker's averaging a triple-double? How can you argue like that SGA is better? I mean, the guy's literally averaging a triple-double. How many times has that happened in NBA history for an entire season? Not many.
Not like once or
twice.
But
SGA is also having an incredible season, and his team is in the number 1 seed. So that also is going to be a
Joker's
factor.
beating him in every number except points. That's it.
And overall record. They're going to look at that, John. They just. I agree with you. I agree. Yeah. I'm just telling you what they're going to look at.
Well, not every 1 seed has won an MVP. I mean, Joker won one as a 3 seed, Russ won one as a 6 seed. So in the NBA, it's not always a guarantee to win MVP as a 1 seed. Joker's having an insane season, like a historically great season. SGA's having a great season, but it's not historically great. You know what I mean? Like that's a big difference to me.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Yes, that's fair. That's very fair. But again, yeah. As far as the Cavs go, I think their ceiling would be the East Finals, and that's if they don't get caught by a more experienced team. Well, actually, let me take a quick look here. You know what? Yeah, I mean, unless it's the Bucks, or Boston, yeah, that pretty much would be it. It would, and I would say the same thing that I said about OKC. If the Cavaliers do make the NBA Finals, there's going to be some dog fights. It's not going to be any. It's not the Eastern Finals wouldn't be a walkthrough. They'll likely see Boston, as of right now, and Boston could end them in four games. They could end them in 6 games. So, but no, I would say their ceiling is the East Finals. But number 3. So you're at a steakhouse and you don't really feel like eating steak, but they have grilled chicken breast and grilled fish on the menu. Salmon, tilapia, whichever, catfish. Which one would you pick, James?
Well, first of all, I'm not turning down the steak. That's number 1. Second, if I had to choose one, I guess I would go with the fish, the salmon. I don't know. Chicken, if it's not seasoned properly, it can just taste really bland. So I don't know what we're talking here. So that would be my answer.
All right. And John, what about you?
Look, seafood's one of the worst things that you can eat.
Stop that. Stop it.
It smells like death.
No.
It smells like a porta potty. Whenever you go to a seafood restaurant, it literally smells like you're sitting in a porta potty. So I don't understand how anybody thinks that that's appetizing. It's one of the worst smells you can smell. So grilled chicken. I mean, I don't love grilled chicken breast, but I assume if I'm going to a restaurant, they're gonna know how to season it. They're not gonna do it like somebody at home. If you're at a restaurant, they're gonna know how to season things. So
The
I'm
better
not worried
question
about.
should be why in God's name would we turn down a nice steak? That's what
I
I
mean,
want to know.
if they're out of steak, say they're out of
Yeah.
steak in our scenario.
How are you a steakhouse and you run out of steaks?
It happens. Burger places run out of burgers.
McDonald's runs out of burgers?
Yeah, it has. Yes, it
I'd
has.
close the store.
It's run out of fries. It's run out of ice cream. Like, it happens.
It always
runs
runs out of ice cream.
No, it doesn't run out of ice cream. The ice cream
always-
machine is basically magically broken at every McDonald's in the country. But go ahead.
All at once. But if, gun to my head, I got to pick one of these. I'm going grilled chicken. I'm not going to love it. But I guess, I'm going to have to go with that just because it's the default, because fish is disgusting. So, yeah.
I actually am. It's crazy because had this have been 20 years ago, I would have put. I mean, I like both of them. I do. 20 years ago, I would have said grilled chicken breast, but now I think I'm gonna go for the grilled salmon. I actually had grilled salmon in New Orleans. It was really good. James, we all were there. It was really good, seasoned really well, juicy, and everything. I'll take the grilled salmon in this one. I actually have been eating more fish in recent years, giving it a bit more of a chance. I thought about it. I was like, you know what? How is it that I could love seafood except fish? It kind of doesn't make any sense. So it's like either you love seafood or you don't, But I went on ahead and I gave it another chance. I've been giving a lot of foods another chance in recent years. Lamb is another one, But no, I'll take the salmon. The salmon is really great when done right. Catfish. I have to have it fried. I'm sorry. Tilapia is hit or miss because it's one of those fishes that smells like really gamey. Now, John, that's what you're talking about right there because not all fish smells like what you described. Yeah. Tilapia, if it's like kind of poorly done, yes, it can smell like that even when cooked. But no, with salmon, I'll take the salmon in this one. Salmon is just too scrumptious. So, all right, well, let's get on to our first topic here. And that is Well, the March Madness NCAA tournament has been set. Quick update. In the first four, Alabama State Hornets with the win 72-70 on a putback with 0.7 seconds remaining. And then coming up next is going to be North Carolina and San Diego State. But speaking of North Carolina and teams like it, or maybe you don't feel like this about North Carolina. But if you notice, it says there who was graced in and who was snubbed. And it happens every single year in college sports, whether it's football. We sat here and debated it. Although I will say, as far as the college football playoff, for the very, very most part, people said they picked the right teams. The seeding was just wrong. We discussed that on here, John, remember?
Yep, I do remember.
It was one of the few years where they actually got it right as far as the teams that deserve to be in. But in NCAA basketball, it's a mixed bag just because it's 68 teams. So there's always going to be somebody. We'll start off with John and get your thoughts on who was graced in and who was snubbed. John, take it away.
I definitely think North Carolina was graced in. I think there was a lot of favoritism there, and definitely think North Carolina got favoritism and got to work their way into the tournament. And I think it'll eventually end up setting up as a Duke versus UNC rematch somewhere down the line. It's great TV ratings, what you want. Cooper Flag versus North Carolina, another rematch. They just had played a few weeks ago. So, yeah, I definitely think that they weaseled their way in. And they're one of the more popular teams. You got to have the names. You got to have the blue blood. So they definitely got it.
Yeah. Now, I will say this much because somehow, like, all the Blue Bloods got in. You figure UCLA, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, like they just kind of made their way in. Seemingly, Carolina's the only controversial name there, John.
Yep. That's a controversial one. So, of course, I read that there was something to do with $100,000 as far as them getting in. I don't. I read that there was some.
What'd you read, John? What'd you read?
There's something $100,000 attached to them getting in. So I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's not, but I read there was some controversy with them getting in. That's why people are so upset with them being one of the last ones getting in. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
All right. James, what about you? Who do you think was graced in?
I think John makes a really good point about North Carolina, to be honest. I think that last game that they played against Duke really helped them. But at the end of the day, you lost to Duke 3 times. So what are we doing here? Are we getting in because you looked good in a loss? If that's the case, then I don't know what's up with the people that make the decisions. But North Carolina, I don't think is going to get really far.
All right. Obviously, my other 2 cohorts here pick North Carolina. I'm going to go a different pathway here. You all know that I am very critical about my particular teams. I'm going to say the Longhorns were graced in. They were graced in. This was nowhere near the team, what was it, a year or 2 ago that made the Elite 8. Conference record, not very good. I think what actually helped them out was being a 13th seed. They actually became the first 13th, the lowest seed in the SEC tournament to make the quarterfinals. They beat Texas A&M. Hung with Tennessee, but Tennessee pulled away. Tennessee ended up, winning the conference tournament. Texas probably shouldn't be in the first place. I was for sure thinking Texas was going to the NIT. I thought Texas, because you got to think, just the night before, right? Oklahoma was a part of the last 4 in, and the first 4 out was North Carolina and Texas. Somehow, all 3 of them got in. So that's another name on the list too, is Oklahoma. Oklahoma has not looked that good every single year. And I'm a Horns fan. I hate the Sooners, but I will acknowledge when they're good, but also acknowledge when, they wasn't that great. But also said Texas wasn't great this year. We were buns, booty chips. So I honestly don't see how Texas got in. They may have been a filler pick. I don't know. But hey, we're in, and let's see what we do. Probably a first-round exit. We got Xavier tomorrow for the 11th seed, so we'll see how that goes. Now let's go back around the panel. And who did you think got snubbed, John?
I definitely think it was West Virginia. They had 6 quad 1 wins, which were more than 13 at-large teams that were trying to get in themselves. 6 is a large number. They can quad 1 wins are the highest ranking wins you can get. So that's top 25 type of teams. And they won 6 games. So that's a lot. And they didn't get in. That's the controversy, is that they didn't get in, but North Carolina did. They should have been in over North Carolina. But like James said, because they played Duke so tough in this last game, a lot of people were like, well, you know what? They can hang with Cooper Flagg and Duke. Maybe they're not so bad. And like I said, they are a blue blood. So I think that pushed them over the top, but West Virginia was better. West Virginia definitely should have been in, and they would have given teams a lot of trouble in the NCAA tournament. I don't know how they didn't get in at 19-13, but that one's going to be a mystery for a while.
Just so you know, put it on the screen right here. Just so you know, because that sounded familiar when you said that they were 19-13.
Yep.
Because as I look at, Oklahoma was 20-13, but they were 6-12 in conference. West Virginia was 10-10 in conference. Now you tell me who should have been in between them two teams. Now, with that being said, this also might have been a bit of SEC bias.
Yep.
Because they happen to have the most teams in, with 14 teams in the tournament.
Well, they also got the money deal. They got the money deals with ESPN, places like that. So whenever you have the tie-in with somewhere like an ESPN, and you're the darling of Disney, as you see it in college sports, you're the darling of Disney. So of course, I think you're going to get that little bit of bias when it comes to getting into a college football playoff or the NCAA tournament or whatever college sport it is. If it's close, you're probably going to get that little bit over the top, I would guess, because there's a little bit of favoritism. And that's just the way the world works, is you go to any job or whatever it is, whoever's the favorite's probably going to get that little push over the top. So I wouldn't think that's a crazy notion.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And finally, James, who do you think was snubbed?
I think West Virginia is an excellent shout as well. They beat Gonzaga, they beat Arizona, have some quality wins. Probably should have been in. I also think that Indiana's in that conversation. Indiana Hoosiers.
Yep.
A lot of heritage there with that program. But they had some quality wins as well. I mean, let's remember they beat Michigan State as well. And Michigan State, Big Ten champs. Michigan State could win it all. They're a good team. That's a quality win. They beat Ohio State. They have some good wins on the resume there. So I feel like, they're a bubble team that probably should have got a little more consideration than they did. So I think West Virginia is a great shout, and Indiana as well.
Indiana finished with the same record as West Virginia.
Yep.
10-10 in conference, 19-13 overall, 14-4 at home. So they had a pretty solid homestand this season. Indiana definitely being another one. But yeah, like I said, this type of thing happens every single year, and and it's a shame. Now let's see what happens, because the talk is going to be, for example, if North Carolina sees a first round exit, John, like you already know what's gonna come about with this. They're probably going to start taking a look at I don't know if this would do it, but they may take a look at the selection committee like, hey, guys, what are you doing? What's going on? Carolina shouldn't have even been there.
Yeah. I mean,
Not at all.
also, we're talking about 19 and 13 teams. So Boise went 24 and 10.
Mhm.
And I'm going to name a team that I know they don't play as many big games. UC Irvine went 28 and 6. Now
They
they
did.
played 2 quad 1 games. They went 1-1, but 28 and 6 is still 28 and 6.
It is.
Because if you have a 30-win season in college basketball, it's a magical year. It's a historic year in men's college basketball if
It
you
is.
reach 30 wins, because it almost never happens. And they went 28 and 6. Again, I know they didn't play a lot of quality opponents. They didn't win their conference. 28 and 6, 28 and 6, guys, in college basketball. Like, this isn't college football where it's like, oh, yeah, like University of Birmingham, Alabama went 11 and 1. Like, we know they're going to get smoked in the playoffs if they made it. But college basketball, it's different. Like, if you're 28 and 6, if you're UC Irvine, you're probably a really good basketball team, and you're going to be a hard out in the NCAA tournament, because that's the way college basketball works. So I just think it's absurd that we're talking about 19 and 13 teams, and a team like UC Irvine wins 28 games, and it's not enough. Like, that's
And it's
crazy.
not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. 28 wins, and then you're sitting at home.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at, like, you say, historical 30-win seasons only happen so much. Like, Houston went 30-4. They went 19-1 in conference. The only team that beat them was Texas Tech. Tech was not far behind it. They had 25 wins. But yeah, I think they have to take a look at how some of that seeding, goes, because I think some more of these the lower conferences, more of those schools should get in, because there should be no reason why you win 28 games and you go home. And you win 28 games, and it's like, hey, whether you win 28 games, 20 games, whatever, if you don't win your conference, you're going home. But if you transfer to a Big Ten school or something like that, you could get in with 20 wins.
Because you can't say, well, they wouldn't have won any games. We see every year teams that we've never really heard of taking out big teams in the NCAA tournament, not just a 16 seed, which we recently saw, but like 12 seeds, 13 seeds, like all kinds of seeds of teams we don't really know
Right.
on a regional scale. They're taking out, really good teams, really big, prestigious programs left and right every year. So
Right.
you can't make the argument that, they're going to get beat in round one. Like, you just don't know, because college basketball is a different animal, and any team can beat any team in college basketball, because it's madness, man. It really is.
It is. Absolutely. And with that being said, we actually are going to take a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to stick with NCAA and take a look at some intriguing first round matchups. Some of our favorites. We got to pay some bills. We'll be right back in 15 seconds.
America rules, and so does real American beer. Get some, brother.
Welcome back. We are live. This is the Sideline Sports Show. I am the QB3, because John you like him hosting too. Denzel Snipes, and I'm alongside John Shear, and up top, of course, is James JT Tatum. Coming up next, you know what? Real quick, coming up next, first 4 game, North Carolina and San Diego State. John, your thoughts about this game? Who do you got?
Of course, I got North Carolina. I think, they're just more talented.
you dog North Carolina for the last 20-something minutes, and you're like, yeah, I got them to beat San Diego State.
I mean, I'm not taking San Diego State seriously myself, so like that don't say a whole lot. That's not a high bar, that you need to reach right there. So it's just more so San Diego State. I just don't buy them.
All right, James, who do you got? San Diego State or North Carolina?
North Carolina by default. And to be fair, can you name any successful player to come out of San Diego State other than Kawhi?
Other than Kawhi Leonard? No.
Dave.
Who?
Dave, our very
He doesn't hoop.
NBA.
He didn't.
He did play college basketball.
NBA players.
Oh, okay. NBA players. There you go. No.
No, he played for the Seahawks, not the Supersonics. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with North Carolina on this one. I wouldn't be shocked if San Diego State gave them a run for their money in the second half, but I think Carolina pulls it off. But once again, if in the event they trip and fall and slip in their own vomit tonight, the conversation will be, why were they let in?
Yep.
With that being said, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, and that is some intriguing first round matchups. First round matchups that you really would like to see. We'll start off with James. I don't know if you got the bracket in front of you or anything, but who do you got? What do you think is an interesting matchup in the first round?
A lot of interesting matchups in the first round. I think Texas versus Xavier is one.
Okay.
Xavier is a team that's been really successful in March Madness in recent years. And, this is two teams that's not really being talked about a lot. So I think this is a matchup where there's some potential madness. Maybe Texas wins this game. I don't know. But a lot of interesting matchups for March Madness, but I don't think it's going to be too wild, honestly, in the first round. I think once we get to the Sweet 16, that's when it's going to start to get really crazy.
All right. And John, what about you?
See, I always like these matchups where it's 8 versus 9. I always like those, the close number matchups.
I was looking at those.
I always love those because those are the best games, because those are the dog fights. So BYU versus VCU. VCU is always a tough out. I like Creighton versus Louisville. That's going to be fun. I'm also looking at Kansas versus Arkansas. I know the Jayhawks are the Jayhawks, but man, something tells me that they get got in this game by Arkansas. Something tells me that they're going to get got. And then I was also looking at, I'm just sifting through the games, UConn versus Oklahoma. I know we talked about Oklahoma just got in as well, but I have a feeling that they're going to take out UConn. I have a weird feeling, because sometimes when you look at these games, you can just look down and you can just kind of, it stands out to you what worse seed is going to take out that better seed. And I think that Xavier, Texas, whoever is taking that spot facing Illinois, I think they'd take out Illinois as well. So, yeah. So I just, like I said, I just like these close number matchups, because those are the best ones in the first round always. And I really think Illinois is going to get got, like whoever they play in Xavier and Texas. So I like that one.
I'm gonna sift through them myself, but one game stands out. John, James, first round matchup. You heard it here first. My bold take. You ready for this?
Let's go.
The Yale Bulldogs will knock out the Aggies. The Yale Bulldogs will knock out Texas A&M. I think that's a closer matchup than people think.
You know what? Those Ivy League schools always find a way to shoot the lights out from 3 in these first rounds and upset somebody. So I don't think that that's that crazy, because they always come out hot, one of those Ivy League schools, and just shoot the lights out of a 3 ball.
Yeah, like it's because wasn't it a couple of years ago, Princeton made the tournament and suddenly turned into the Warriors. They were just firing from like all cylinders from behind the arc, man. It was crazy. But no, I've got Yale over A&M. And then also in the first round, John touched on them as well, because I was looking at Arkansas, Kansas. I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas sees a first round exit. Arkansas is actually pretty double tough. I'm also looking at, believe it or not, Georgia and Gonzaga. I've got Gonzaga winning that one. I wouldn't be shocked if it went to overtime.
I looked at that one too. I looked at that one as well. No, go on. I was just saying, I looked at that one as well. That one seems intriguing.
No. Let's get your take. Georgia and Gonzaga. What do you think?
No, I definitely – I think Georgia wins it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I think Gonzaga gives them the run for their money. I think Georgia's just more talented, even though they're the 9 seed and Gonzaga's the 8. But anytime you're 8, 9, I think it's interchangeable, really. I really don't say, well, eight's much better. Typically, they're interchangeable. I think Georgia's more talented. But I think that's a dogfight, and I think Georgia ends up winning something like a buzzer beater. Give me that towards the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. We already saw madness because Alabama State won on a putback in the final second. But James, let's get your take. What do you think of Georgia Gonzaga?
I think it'll be a good matchup. Gonzaga is a team that's always successful in March Madness. Georgia's really good as well. SEC has a bunch of teams in this season, but I'm not really so intrigued with that matchup. I know that it's going to happen, at least in one of these games, where a 14 or 15 or 16 seed is going to win.
Okay.
But I don't know which one. But what I would love to see personally is Texas Tech versus UNC Wilmington.
Whoa.
Wilmington is a 14 seed. Texas Tech is really good.
Yes.
They've made some Elite 8 runs over the years as well. That would be a massive upset. So, I don't know, man. Some people might have the brackets getting ruined as well. They got Grand Canyon University in as well. That's where I took some classes. Remember, I got my degree, sports management. So that's another team that I'm rooting for to get upset.
All right.
I gotta give a team I'm rooting for to get upset. Man, I want to see Omaha upset St. John's.
Oh, man, come on, dude.
Man,
He's
JB
not even here to defend
salty.
himself.
Just so next Tuesday, when you all tune into Sideline Sports, or Wednesday, if you're listening to it in Atlanta on your drive to work Wednesday morning, you can listen to JB wallow in self-pity about his St. John's crumbling just like all his other teams do.
You
And it's
should
going
have
to be
stayed in the
music.
States, bro.
It's gonna be it's gonna be music to all of our ears. It'll be beautiful. So if somebody gets St. John's, I mean, just for the sake of what it'll do to JB, that's what I'm looking forward to. So Omaha, aside from my Gators, winning it all, I want Omaha to take out St. John's more than almost anything.
Oh, yeah. And, wow. Yeah, you just find a way to go at JB, man. That's crazy. Speaking of the Florida Gators, everybody on the panel of the ESPN college basketball selection, Jay Bilas and Jay Williams and all of them, all four of them have Florida winning the national championship. All four of them did.
I mean, they have a 7'9" freshman, and they just won SEC tournament, over Tennessee. So they're pretty good. They're it's hard to beat a 7'9" freshman center. You know what I mean? Like as one of your stars. They're a really good team.
That is just insane. Oh, and by the way, because Auburn is the number 1 seed in, I believe, the South region, right? They saw a first round exit last year, John. Remember who beat them?
Who beat them?
Yale. I'm telling you, the Bulldogs are coming. They're going to beat the Aggies in the first round.
It's always one of them Ivy League teams always find a way. Remember a couple years ago when Cornell could not miss any threes in the opening round? They were like the best three-point shooting team. And I think they got to like the Sweet 16 or something just by shooting a 3-ball. They didn't go past the Sweet 16, I think it was. But the first 2 teams they played, they just shot the 3-ball, and they're like, yeah, we got our way to the Sweet 16 just by shooting a 3. Like, that's what I could see a team like Yale doing, just popping threes and, and creating havoc and ruining brackets.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Well, man, it was so much fun talking about this topic, but we do have to move on. We're gonna swing into some NFL here. Biggest thing to come across: the Bengals have agreed to extensions with both of their wideouts, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. T. Higgins 4 years, $115 million. Jamar Chase 4 years, $161 million. He now is the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. It seems like whoever signs that contract to become the highest paid non-quarterback, they kind of hold that title for like 2 weeks. Then someone comes along and like beats them out. But just want to go around the panel. to the both of you and get your thoughts about the Bengals finding a way to keep their receivers in Cincinnati. We'll start with. Oh, go ahead.
Can I start? Just because I want to throw something at James once he gets his turn to go. So I'm not sure if you know this, James, but the Eagles spent over $100 million less on their 2-star receivers than the Bengals did on their 2-star receivers. $100 million less Howie Roseman spent on his 2 stars. And I would argue that the stars on the Eagles, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, are better than Jamar Chase and T. Higgins as a duo. Duo to duo, I would take the Eagles duo because I think that they're more reliable and consistent than the Bengals. So I'm just saying, like, I don't understand the T. Higgins hype. I don't understand the contract. I mean, bro, like, 908 yards, 1,091 yards, 1,029 yards, 656 yards, 911 yards. Never hit 80 catches. He hit 10 touchdowns this year. Aside from that, he never hit double-digit touchdowns. Like, in 5 years, the guy's hit barely 1,000 yards twice in 5 years. And now the guy $115 million over 4 years. Like, please somebody explain to me this like I'm 5. Make me understand, because I don't get it, James. I really, I don't understand what the Bengals are doing.
James?
Well, my response to that would be the Bengals had to do this. Because I don't know if you guys saw a few weeks ago, Joe Burrow made a comment where he said, well, the Eagles are able to pay everyone, so why can't we pay everyone? So the Bengals had to take all their money and basically put it to these 2 guys. And their defense is going to continue to suffer. They're already putting their best defensive player, Hendrickson, is on the market to be traded. So he's going to be picked up by somebody else. Haven't really made a lot of moves to the defense. And what the Bengals did happens to a lot of teams that don't do good business. The Eagles are not a team that does that. They gave Saquon Barkley even more money. They signed Jalen Hurts early. That's why Jalen Hurts is like the 9th or 8th highest paid quarterback annually. So when you have an opportunity to pay Jamar Chase, you should have taken it. When you had a time to do it, you decided not to. He goes out, he gets a triple crown, and this is what happens. So the Bengals are not really the smartest team, so they allowed it to get to this point and having all this drama. So it is what it is. I think the Bengals are ultimately going to be fun to watch, but the team is going to suffer, and I don't think they're going to compete for a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, not without a defense. Y'all know how I feel about a defense. I mean, you can sit up there and have all the offense in the world. You got Chase Brown, you got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow, who people argue for Burrow to be MVP because they wouldn't even gotten nowhere near 9 wins without him. The Bengals, you may not agree with the numbers on the contract or anything, but they clearly did what they had to do. The Bengals, they don't want to go into a rebuild or anything like that, because if that's the case, then why re-sign these 2 in the first place?
But Jade, did you have to sign T. Higgins at $115 million when I just gave you his numbers? The guy has never shown that he's worth that kind of money. So why did you have to do that? I get Chase. Chase is worth every penny. Like, I am not arguing that. We saw.
I mean, the guy had the triple crown.
The guy can do anything you ask. But T. Higgins, like, what does he prove that he got that contract?
Yeah, no.
I don't think it's about that. I think it's about, as I said, Joe Burrow making these comments. They're trying to not piss him off.
But who runs the organization? Who runs the organization? You or Joe Burrow?
The Bengals are not ran like a normal organization. Obviously.
Yeah. Go on, Jay. Sorry.
No. It's all good. But here's the thing, John. I said you may not agree with the numbers on the contract, but the Bengals felt they did what they had to do. They are in arguably the toughest division in the land. You gotta keep up. Now, what I would have liked to have seen, and it's still some time before the season starts. I would like to see them address that defense. Now, if they get in this draft and they get like some youngsters and maybe sign a veteran or something, okay, but something has got to be done about that defense. That's I didn't lose any sleep behind T. Higgins 115 mil. I didn't. I get your take, John. My biggest thing is they have to adjust that defense at some point, because I'd be damned if I see Burrow put up all them numbers, Jamar win another Triple Crown or close to it, and they go 8-9 or 9-8. James is right. You don't want to piss Joe Burrow off, because enough of that, and he walks, and then Jamar may want to. You don't want to go into a rebuild in that type of division where you feel like you have a chance. Well, just 3 short years ago, you were in the Super Bowl, so they definitely did what they had to do in this one. Jamar Chase clearly deserves it. He won a Triple Crown. Hell, he could have gotten a little bit more. He could have gotten 180 million. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. That's just me.
Yeah, but would you rather have invested that money in T. Higgins? Or let me read you some numbers. So some of the most sacked teams in the NFL, Bears, address the offensive line. Texans hurt their offensive line. Patriots, Titans, Commanders all address their offensive line. Bengals were 12th in sacks given up. They did not address their offensive line. Instead, they went and spent 115 on a receiver when their quarterback's always laying on his back. The Eagles were actually the 13th most sacked team in the league, and they lost Mekhi Becton, but they still have a great offensive line. They still have a lot. But the Bengals did not address the offensive line. Their offensive line's terrible. And their defense is terrible. Like, what did we say last week, Jay? What do we say every week when we talk about offensive lines in football or team, how you build a team? What did the Bears do when Ben Johnson got there? Inside out. That's how the Eagles built their team. Inside out. That's how the Lions built their team. Inside out. That's how the Chiefs built their team. Inside out. That's how the Niners, who had their run and their windows closed, but they did build their team inside out. They address the trenches. The Bengals aren't addressing the trenches. The Bengals are going to lose. They lost. They're going to lose.
They're basically the same exact team.
Yeah. And then and then Sam Hubbard retired. Trey Hendrickson wants out.
Is on the market.
And you're going to have less defense than you had last year, which I don't know how it's possible, and less offensive line than so. You got worse. But congratulations, you got T. Higgins who gets you 900 yards for 115 million.
Ultimately, they're going to be fun to watch, but they can't win.
Yeah, I mean, it could be argued that, and don't get me wrong, you guys got paid and everything, but it could be argued that if things stays as is, they just went from a 9-8 team to an 8-9 team. So, but no, this is how good teams are built, are in the trenches, offensive side of the offensive line, defensive line. I mean, shoot, you saw almost 20 years ago, and they said it was the worst pick in history when the Texans took Mario Williams, and then look what happened with them throughout the years. So yes, it does start in the trenches, and this is the thing that folks have to realize, is that defense wins championships, offense sells tickets. The Bengals, like James said, it may be fun to watch, but it don't mean squat if they only win 8 games, if they're out of the playoff picture by week 10 because the Ravens are running, and the Browns are going to be, at least they'll be better than the Browns, And then the Steelers are somehow going to be in the mix. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be 9-8.
They just signed us to a 1-year deal.
How did the Giants beat the Patriots in both Super Bowls? They rushed 4, dropped 7. They were able to get to the quarterback with 4 guys. How did the Eagles beat the Chiefs this year in the Super Bowl? Rushed 4, dropped 7, got to the quarterback, because they had a strong enough defensive line to get to the quarterback while the others can just drop back. I mean, I don't understand how teams don't copy that blueprint to winning.
It's right there.
It's right there, but teams continually say, hey, let's pay guys 115 instead of addressing the more important positions in football. And that's why the Bengals stay a losing franchise.
No, agreed. And so with that being said, we're going to move on to our last topic of the night. We got about 6-7 minutes left, and that is MLB opening night in Japan. One game is already in the books. The Dodgers defeated the Cubs 4-1. Ohtani had 2 hits in front of his real home crowd. But also, I wanted to
And
share.
also in front of JB.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully he gets a pick with JB. But I want to share some clips that JB did send. They were there on site, and here we go.
Okay, so can I say something, Jay?
Mhm.
That's how baseball should be. If
Yes.
baseball was more like that, I guarantee MLB would be a lot more popular in the States because that was bleeping good. What we just listened to, what we just watched, that's how baseball should be, not what we got now where it's like that was
don't know.
what baseball feels like it used to be.
Yeah, I don't know if you read the article or heard any news, but apparently the Savannah freaking Bananas are drawing more of a crowd than Major League Baseball. They sold out Raymond James Stadium to the tune of I think 35,000 last weekend, and and no, they had like how much was it? No, it was 75,000. The 35,000 number I'm thinking was the Cleveland Guardians. They can actually fit about 35,000 in theirs, but they can only manage 26,000. This is a team that was in the ALCS just last season, you know. But since Japan is about animated things that move around, here's another clip. They should play more games in Japan. Just 2 games is unacceptable.
Yep.
It's just unacceptable. And also 2 pictures here. Hang on a second. Well, there's this sellout guy right here. This Mark, just want to ditch us all. No, he need to be here at work, But then also he had that is an awesome shot
That
of the
is an
Tokyo
awesome
Dome.
shot.
Field looks very
Right
nice.
there. Everything is, and actually, one of my other supervisors, he recently took a trip to Japan, loved it. Everything's pretty cheap there. It's beautiful. Everything's essential. The streets are like clean. There's like no like trash on the streets. No, nothing at all. But real quick before we get off the air, James, what are your thoughts about what you just saw?
I think it was incredible, and it shows you a glimpse of what sports are like in other parts of the world, how passionate people are. So that's something to keep in mind, guys, because next year is the World Cup. We'll be in the United States, and we'll see people from all over the world going hard for their national teams. And it's a little different than what we see here in the U.S. So I love the passion, and hopefully there's more games in Japan and other parts of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. John, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I feel like the passion that fans show here is like they have to be nasty to other people. Like they
Yeah,
have to call each other names. They have to attack other fans. Like they can't just enjoy their team. They have to rub it in the other person's face. If a guy's sitting next to you, it's the opposite team fan. Like you got to be a jerk to him. Like why is it got to be that way? Like it seems like they're very respectful over there in Japan, the way they do it, the way they go about their business. It just seems like they're cleaner and more respectful. And they also know how to promote the game, something the MLB has no idea how to do.
yeah, no, absolutely. And great, commentary on that take about how we treat each other. Before we sign off the air, um, usually he's here, and the final word is from David DeRocher. He always says, "Be good humans." Um, when he's not here, I'll step in his place and I'll mock him, and I do the thing with the drill. Okay, but that's exactly how we are at Sideline
Yeah.
Sports. We're all about being human beings. There's no corporate BS here, okay? All right. And you treat people
Yeah.
with dignity and respect. I understand like a little bit of trash talking. John, you know, and and Lord knows
Well,
John has his moments, but I mean the Eagles and the Dolphins could play each other. Yeah, James and John are gonna talk smack to each other, but they're gonna shake hands afterwards, and then we'll come on the air and talk about the game. And that's how it should be. But when
Yeah.
you look on YouTube and you see that there's fights in the stands, fist fights in the stands, and people getting in each other's faces, man, that's just unacceptable. And not only that, but it makes a fan base look bad. So, we have to do better than that, everybody. We have to do better than this. Besides, you never know who else around there you could be ruining their good time. Some father is taking their daughter to their first ever ball game, and that's the kind of stuff that they got to see,
Yep.
or some guy is taking his son to his first ball game or whatever,
Yep.
and the people next to him are going at it, and then next thing you know, the kid gets hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we got to be better than that, people. We really
The,
do.
the craziest part, Jay, is 5 years ago, we didn't have sports where any of us could go to anything. Remember that? So, like,
Hmm.
remember what that feeling
yep.
was like? It's like, damn, man, like, nobody might, like, ever get to go to a game again. And it was kind of like, well, this sucks. Like, I wanted to come back. But now that we have it back, it's like, well, I kind of want that to go away because people don't deserve it because
Yeah.
that's how they treat each other at games. Like we don't deserve to have that again because I mean, how can you not learn from what happened in 2020? It's like we should all be grateful that we get to go, not you know attacking each other and whatnot.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
agreed. I think what happened along the way is people started, taking things for granted and whatnot. And, maybe the people here in this nation from the clips that we just saw and the customs you read about and everything. Anyone who's ever been, one of my best friends, Craig, he was stationed in Japan. Every single thing that everyone is true. It's absolutely true. He spent 4 years there, you know. So I mean, with that being said, I'm sorry, he spent 3 years there. But with that being said, maybe we could take a page out of their book and be a little bit more decent, at least about a few more things. But that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for watching. Tune in to some more of our great sports and or great sports shows. We also got Terrible Talk, the Pittsburgh Steelers show, Hawk Talk, as well as Seattle Seahawks show. We've got our guys over at First and 56, Rondo, Alex Griffin, and the crew. That's our Indianapolis Coach show. We've also got Confidential tomorrow night, Sports Business Insider with myself and Sean Russey, and a plethora of other shows. Also go to SidelineSportsNet.com. Oh, and
Don't
there's
forget about
another
the golf,
show.
man.
Yeah, the Gauntlet. Yes, of course. And then also, this guy's got another show coming back. You want to tell him about it, James?
Yeah, I've decided to announce that the LinkedIn show is coming with my co-host Cam, who is newly joining the network. He's an Eagles fan as well, so we'll be talking about the team more. So hope to see you on Thursday nights.
All right, it is coming back. Yes, of course, the gauntlet picked off. We got a plethora show. SidelineSportsNet.com. Go take a look and read all of our great articles. James is putting up some great work on there, as well as some other members of the network and our interns. Also, our old shows are on there. We got about 20 seconds left. John, I'll throw the alley to you. Catch the hoop. What do you say?
Be good humans.
America rules, and so does real American beer. Get some, brother.